It's also important for us to measure trust as well, and that's what we're going to be talking on next. We're going to have Mr. Christo van Wyk, the Regional Director of India and Middle East at Meltwater, and he's going to be talking on how do we build, manage, and measure trust. Christo, thank you.
All right. Hello, Goa. I'm glad there's 3 friendly people in this audience. They tell me that PR people are the most friendliest, polite people, communications that too, so let's try again. Hello, Goa. Hello. It's a lot better. We might not have the budget in the company, but we do have the personality and the looks, if I can just say that. All right, so it's really nice to be here. I just want to start off and saying thanks to the Praxis team for putting events like this together, along with other contributors, the sponsors. I think just what a lovely opportunity to get together and gather as industry experts, thought leaders, and have a platform where we can discuss topics relevant in our industry that will really shape and influence the next couple of years. My contribution is talking about how to build and manage and measure brand trust. I'm well aware that there's a disconnect between the face you see here and the face that's on my presentation. I do not believe that I am MS Dhoni. Let's just be very clear, although I have a secret admiration for him and his achievements. But in my travels coming to India for the past couple of years, and I've been fortunate to visit the beautiful country now more than 20 times over the course of 2 years, when I speak to old and young, north and south, and I ask them, what is something or someone that is a representation of trust and reliability? It's strange how many times this person is synonymous with that. So I thought, let's kickstart with that image and then build towards that. But a little bit less about MS Dhoni, just a quick background about myself. My name is Christo van Wyk. I'm the Area Director for Meltwater, Middle East and India. I was born and raised South African. I currently live in Dubai. Quite a big challenge for a small town boy like myself that's used to seeing mountains and rivers and beautiful greens to go to like the concrete sand jungle of Dubai. But it's been a very enriching experience, and definitely something that I encourage many people to do is to kind of see what's happening in Dubai and the beautiful place that they're building. I am married and I have 2 children in the Middle East. I make the joke and say I have 1 wife and 2 kids. My youngest is 1.5 years old and my oldest is 4. And coming back on the topic of trust, it's been really humbling to also learn how to build trust and loyalty with youngsters. Lately, I've been failing miserably with my 4-year-old. I've recently lost the iPad. It used to be our iPad. It's now his iPad. So it's a very humbling experience, but I'm trying, and you have to change the world one human being at a time, right? My background is working 10 years in SaaS and technology, specifically in emerging markets. The last 3 years, I've been working with people and tech and trying to merge the two together to build out our business operations across the Middle East and India. Prior to that, I spent time in Africa, almost 6 years, and I've also worked with our product and marketing teams from San Francisco in a very client experience focused role. So my curiosity has always been around emerging markets, and lately I've been able to also road test my experience and ideas by going back the academic route to Oxford Said Business School, where I'm particularly interested in how to build tech companies in emerging markets in the current global context. So it's really my experience the last 10 years working for Meltwater that really started off as a small startup company from humble beginnings that have grown into a large international company that today is looking of servicing the needs of 30,000 clients through providing media intelligence and helping them to understand how to read, analyze, and engage with online and social content. And this has really put me front and center to seeing how interesting the journey has been for companies and brands and customers to really adjust to the fast-moving, ever-evolving landscape of social media. And I think social media has been something that's been hugely exciting, but it's also hugely daunting. And it's been just so great to see how companies are trying to adjust and adapt, and also consumers, in the way that we interact with these new media platforms and media opportunities. And that has put me front and center, like I said, to really see like how companies have excelled in this, building trust with their brands. Sometimes, unfortunately, how companies have failed, how companies are still adjusting to it, and how even some companies are still not believing that this is the right thing to do. And I want to use this experience to talk to you guys today about brand. So in my preparation and some of my research and the previous keynotes that I've given around this topic, I've come across one quote that for me is still very striking. And it's around the quote that says, consumers need to trust your brand, that it will deliver in every single interaction. Because if it doesn't, be sure that they will turn around and search for another one. And today, in the context of global business, we're not just competing with people locally, but we're also competing with global brands. And it's even more so important that we need to be quite vigilant on this, because there's a lot of alternatives out there that we need to be wary of. And trust is not a new topic, but it is certainly a topic that has been very hot lately, I would say. And this, if you think about it and you look at the factors around it, it's not really hard to understand why. Because fake news is on the rise, and I know that there's been a panel discussion about fake news, but fake news is really what keeps companies and PR communication professionals awake at night, because it completely changes the game. It's thrown out all the rule books that we know, and in a way that it's scary. And there's one new trend that studies have now shown, that people even are using WhatsApp to target specifically groups by incepting and pushing fake news, right? So that's on the rise. A recent example that I thought about was the RBI that had to very quickly deny that the rumors of closing 9 banks. That did the rounds 2 or 3 days ago. If you're in South African WhatsApp groups or you follow sport, there's still fake news circling around whether Proteas are chokers or not when it comes to the World Cup. That sadly is not fake anymore. That sadly has now become very true. But whatever it is, like, news are doing the rounds. And on top of that, if that wasn't worse enough, a recent study at the University of Baltimore predicts that influencer fraud is on the rise and will be worth $1.5 billion by 2020. So this is also a huge concern. This followed up by an article, a Swedish e-commerce firm, good company and Hype Auditor, a data analytics company, also doing analysis about how many fake user accounts are actually on Instagram. And the number of 16 million have been thrown around just for Indian users. So this impacts our budgets. This impacts how we spend our money. This also impacts our KPIs and return on investment. How do we justify that? And if that isn't tough enough, a recent report by Nielsen have also said that PR crisis is on the rise, and in the last decade has more than doubled. So there is this sense of uneasiness around trust. And I think we as humans, we thrive on trust, we depend on trust, and in today's world, we crave trustworthy relationships more than ever. Because if we don't give our customers trust, they will let us know. And we, again, live in a world of fast-moving media where our customers and consumers have a platform of exactly telling us what they want. And without highlighting any specific, I wanted to just give you guys 1 or 2 ideas. But recently, Beyonce's brand has been a heated topic of conversation, and that's even through third parties or downstream vendors that are doing this on her behalf, but still very, very damaging, and clients will exactly tell us what they think because they have the platforms today to speak up and let us know. So how do we build trust, brand trust specifically? And just for the record, I think there's multiple ways, and I think trust is a combination of things that we do over a long period of time. But I wanted to highlight 4 things that I think is quite relevant in the moment that we're in right now, and maybe quick, easy tips that are also practical that I think that we can use. I think first is shifting the perception versus reality. I think that more and more consumers are interested about the needs that we can solve, the problems that they have, more so than how we position and communicate and market our brand. And there was this meme that was doing this round in the UK and in the US. I don't know how popular it was here. I thought I'd try it out, but if there's any Matrix fans out here, I thought this was really clever in terms of just exactly showing that, what if I told you that customers, no one cares about your product on Facebook, right? But they really deeply care about how are you solving their problems. Secondly, I think that companies that want to be radically empathetic or can have a very deep understanding around the emotional needs of their customers, also really well positioned to build trustworthiness. And I wanted to show a quick video just where this is highlighted out, a video that was done by So I think Dove really showcasing a good understanding that beauty can be perceived and seen in different ways, and working with an audience that, again, is really inspired by what Dove wants to present as their take on beauty. Thirdly, a commitment to improving lives. A recent study, and this was also mentioned by the speaker before, the world's changing and the world is expecting companies to solve problems. And this is also something that increasingly, with all the perceived risk about environmental factors, political tension, so on and so forth, consumers more and more are asking brands to take a stand and drive social change. And the fourth one is being real. And it's brands that can also come across in an authentic way that can really also connect with their clients, that will have the advantage of being able to speak to their audience. Because one thing that we have been able to build up is quite a large tolerance towards what's real and what's not. And I wanted to illustrate an example of a brand that has taken a very real approach with it.
Hello, I'm an actor. I've been paid $8,000 to tell you how great Nordnet is compared to other banks. They chose me because I'm more handsome than their real CEO, and because I look successful in a suit. I walk fast through a hallway where I read from a prompter on top of a camera. It says that Nordnet has lower fees, a better platform, and that they push less of their own products. Great job. I now walk in this modern office where I have a cup of coffee with another actor whom I've never met before. We shake hands and laugh. Apparently business is going well.
Yeah, so brands are already jumping on this and take advantage. So how do we manage brand trust? So say we've implemented these 4 things. I want to give 3 simple points of advice. I think the first one is to define what exactly brand trust means. There's going to be different levels of trust based on different brands as it connects with your physiological or security or community needs. So it's fair to say that it is fairly subjective to the consumer that you are positioning towards. But it's very crucial for you to really understand and map out that journey. And I believe the speaker yesterday, Johanna Burke, mentioned smarter goals. And I would definitely take that in consideration in terms of also how to really build out smart and even smarter goals to define this. The second one is to appoint a brand trust lead or a custodian, someone in your company, be it a C-level executive or someone within your marketing team or even customers that can really come in and also champion brand trust within your company. And then obviously the right technology. I think in this modern world, there's just so much information out there that it's really crucial to also invest in the right tech to be able to continuously measure. So a little bit about measuring brand trust. I want to share an example of a company that we feel in the Indian context has been very successful in terms of measuring trust. And hands up, who's familiar with Sudeko? Yeah? Sudexo. So they had a real challenge from the beginning of the 2000s, and essentially moving from a very paper-based model to really want to go out and digitalize their business. That was essential for them to also stay relevant. And their aim specifically was to be socially responsible, but have a competitive edge, digitalize completely, but also throughout the process not lose the trust that customers have in their product. And what they really went off to do is they spent some time doing research, they listened to conversations about themselves, other digital players, industry trends, so on and so forth. And after analyzing and benchmarking that, they were really able to drive a crisp message across the board. And in a very short space of 5 months, because this also came after demonetization, and then I believe also some regulatory changes, they had to act very quickly. And the outcome was phenomenal. They reached 877 million potential people. They delivered almost over 375 pieces of content. The digital impressions were through the roof, and overall they saw a real increase in share of voice. So in summary, I want to leave you with these 4 points. And again, trust is built over a long period of time. But if you want to get trust back, or if you want to continue driving trust and reaffirming it, remember it's not about you, it's about them and the need that you can help them to fulfill. Be empathetic, understand the emotional needs of your customers. A commitment to improving lives, I think will also really build trustworthiness. And then, if all else fails, be real. And if you still don't believe me, I'll leave you with this final impression. Thank you so much.